Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively uncommon Psychic-type Pokemon Drowzee and its uncommon evolution Hypno, collectively known as the Hypnosis Pokémon. Drowzee and Hypno are part of the family Tapiridae and share much in common with their close tapir relatives, or at least in the case of the physical characteristics of Drowzee. Drowzee possess short, stout bodies with yellow and brown fur that covers the entirety of their frame, as well as short pointed ears, cloven feet, and hands with 3 small grasping fingers that have evolved from the normal feet of a tapir into opposable digits perfect for grabbing and manipulating objects. Like tapirs, they possess a short, prehensile nose trunk that they can use to smell and manipulate objects with, and are generally bipedal to make the nature of their biological work and feeding practices easier. Hypno, in comparison, have much more humanoid figures to them and share very few physical traits with their pre-evolved form. While they still possess yellow fur on their bodies, they have also grown a fluff of thicker hair around their necks, which is larger in females, that helps to regulate their body temperature. Their cloven hooves have been replaced with a trio of toe-like digits, and their hands have developed into 5-fingered appendages that very much resemble human hands, opposable thumbs included, which helps them greatly in manipulating the pendulum that they carry with them. While they retain their pointy ears, though they are larger in size, they have lost their trunks altogether, and instead possess a long, pointed nose. This is primarily due to the fact they do not completely feed on the same resource Drowzee do, instead enjoying a more human-like diet of fruits, nuts, and berries to sustain themselves than the immaterial energy that Drowzee prefer. While these creatures may seem fairly nondescript in terms of appearance, they are set apart from most other Psychic-type Pokemon in that they are thought by some to be descendants of Baku, mythological creatures from Japanese legend that are said to have the power to eat the dreams of others. While it's impossible to say if this is factual or not, it is connected to these creatures for a reason, as the two of them, Drowzee especially, specialize in using their psychic powers to eat the dreams of others, much like their relatives in the Muna family. It is unknown exactly how they came to acquire these powers, but they put them to good use in the wild to make life difficult for those that are trying to sleep. While the Baku normally only eat nightmares, Drowzee and Hypno prefer to feed on the fun, positive dreams of others instead, in particular those of children, as they apparently taste the best, as bad dreams taste sour and can make them sick as they are unable to easily filter out the negative emotions that come with the dreams. Drowzee and Hypno will tend to hang out around recreational areas or in places close to large cities where they are likely to find children sleeping from all the fun they had in a day, and will use their noses to sniff out good dreams by exuding psychic energy from the extrasensory organ inside their nose. The fact that they generally must feed at night is the reason why they can possess insomnia as a base ability, while the ability to sniff out dreams readily also applies in predicting the movements of others, also giving them forewarn as a base ability. The raw psychic energy that they acquire from feeding on dreams is enough to sustain themselves for the most part in the case of Drowzee, but Hypno must rely on other food resources as well to keep their larger frames going. Once their sensitive noses find a target, these creatures will rush to them and use said noses to determine what they are dreaming with a single sniff, before literally breathing in and absorbing the dream of their victim through their victim's nostrils. These creatures will always remember the dream they have eaten, and they can even share the tastiest ones with others by resting next to them if they have a close bond with them, though they might share a bad dream instead if the bond is on the opposite end of the spectrum. As far as their overall combat abilities go, these creatures are not the strongest of Psychic-type Pokemon, but they do have a few nifty tricks up their sleeve. While they generally learn basic Psychic-type moves that are common to see across the type, they are different in that they can use both physical and special attacks equally in battle, and gain access to decent physical attacks like Headbutt, Zen Headbutt, and Wake Up Slap that can surprise others and give them a slight advantage from a strategic standpoint. They additionally possess the ability to release foul, stored dreams from their minds in the form of a poisonous vapor, allowing them to learn the poison gas technique, and they usually show a great resistance against the hypnotic effects of other Pokemon, which, if combined with their generally unflinching calm minds, can allow them to have the inner focus ability as a hidden ability. In looking at their stats, Hypno in particular, it can be seen that most of them fall below average for a fully evolved Psychic-type Pokemon. The only exceptions to this are their slightly above average base HP stat, and their surprisingly high base special defense stat, a consequence of their developed resistance to other Psychic-type influences. They might not be incredibly powerful on their own, but there are far worse things to fear when battling against these Pokemon, as they are capable of things far beyond what their stats can truly show. With Drowzee, there isn't much to say about them outside of their dream-eating powers, but it should be noted that there are ways to tell if one is being or has been preyed on by a Drowzee if one plans on sleeping outside for a change. For one thing, due to the way they absorb dreams through their nose, these creatures end up creating a temporary psychic link between themselves and their target that results in stimuli being shared between them. So if one finds their nose itching while asleep, it's because they are being fed on by one of these beasts. It is also easy to tell if you wake up with the knowledge that you have had a dream, but you can't actually remember the dream itself. Thankfully, Drowzee are not a serious menace, as their feeding does no true harm to their victim, so they tend to be an annoyance more than a danger, and can make ready partners for any trainer looking to add a decent Psychic-type Pokemon to their team. In comparison to their sometimes rambunctious counterparts, Hypno are more reserved creatures and spend much of their time alone meditating, honing their psychic powers in preparation for using them to hunt and defend themselves with. While Drowzee are able to use their psychic powers mildly effectively in order to attack, Hypno take it many steps further in being one of, if not the most skilled hypnotist in the Pokemon world, only matched by the likes of Malamar. In order to use their hypnotic abilities, Hypno carry around a small pendulum with them made from the concentrated psychic energy eaten from dreams past as a Drowzee, making it very akin to the spoons that some members of the Abra family use to enhance their psychic powers. Because they are made from concentrated psychic energy, they naturally exude it at all times, and even if Hypno are not trying to hypnotize someone, just staring and focusing on the pendulum itself is enough to induce drowsiness and sleep within about 3 seconds, though its effects may vary depending upon the power of the Hypno wielding it. In order to truly hypnotize others, Hypno will lock eyes with their target and slowly but methodically swing the pendulum back and forth in an arc with perfect rhythm, focusing their power through it as its glittering surface, motion, and the low-grade psychic pulse they emit through it lulls their targets into a hypnotic sleep, putting them completely under the control of these beasts. Once they are in a trance, Hypno can use their immense willpower to plant hypnotic suggestions and commands into their opponent's mind, making them little more than a slave to their will. This will not work if the surface of the pendulum is dirty though, so Hypno will spend time every day cleaning and polishing it to a shine to make sure they are ready for any encounter. The amount of time that an individual remains under their control tends to depend on how long they stare at the pendulum before falling into a trance, with longer times being associated with longer lasting control. They can go even further than this though, as unlike Malamar, Hypno have the power to combine their hypnosis technique with moves like Confusion and Psychic to attack the mind of their target as they are putting them to sleep, and can further use these moves to hammer in commands and suggestions so hard that it is almost impossible to remove them once placed, with only the power of a stronger Hypno being capable of undoing the deed. This is reflective in their moves as well, as they naturally gain access to the Switcheroo and Nightmare techniques after evolving from Drowzee. While this has led Hypno to be used by doctors to treat insomniacs and help those that in general have a hard time sleeping peacefully, it is noted that they do have a bit of a stigma against them, as they have been known to abduct anyone whose dreams they find to be particularly tasty, children included. Even so, for the most part, Hypno are just like Drowzee in that they do not do any real harm to their victims, and in places like the Alola region, they prefer to feed on the dreams of Komala, rarely ever feeding on humans. As such, they can make great partners for trainers of all ages and can definitely put their psychic powers to great use when needed in battle. While they might not be the strongest of Psychic-type Pokemon in terms of outward force, Drowzee and Hypno are cunning creatures that can use the minds of their opponent against them and easily bend them to their will. Whether it is another Pokemon or a human that they are facing, Drowzee and Hypno can see all that their minds can offer and will gladly use it to take control of any situation in battle and work it so it benefits them more and gives them the chance they need to make a comeback in a desperate situation. If you're looking for a good psychic type to start your journey with and come across one of these beasts, don't hesitate to capture them. They might be feared by many for the heinous kidnappings that a few of their kind have committed, as well as their deceptive willpower, but they are loyal friends and will gladly stick with anyone whose mind they find to be a reservoir of good dreams and intentions. Isn't that right, Miguel?
Hypno.